So, number one possibility, then I'm going to go through 8, and then these are in no specific order. Okay. So, 8 possible reasons maybe why you're having hair issues. And a lot of times people are having hair issues are having skin issues too. So, sometimes those are connected. Eczema, psoriasis, kind of things like that. I'm not going to talk directly about that, but sometimes those are connected, like hair, skin, nails, like all kind of connected there. Hence the collagen. Um, so, number one would be thyroid. And so if you've gone to your doctor and asked for a thyroid blood test, they've probably done something called a TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. That is about like a fifth of what you need for a good thyroid workup. So that's what's covered by insurance, so it's easy. And if it's between 0.5 and 5, then you're good. I would tell you optimal TSH is not between 0.5 and 5. I would say it's between 1 and 2. So the functional blood chemistry lab ranges that I look at, I'm a lot more picky with, but for, like I said, for good reason. We can pick stuff up early. Um, and so when your hormone, so thyroid's a hormone, when your hormone production is disrupted, specifically we'll talk about T4 and T3 today. Those are the other pieces of your thyroid. It affects the life cycle of each strand of your hair. Yeah. So how long it lives on your head. And so it's then falling out sooner if basically your thyroid is disrupted or if that hormone in particular sort of is a mess. And so maybe it grows fine, but it's not staying there very long. And so all of a sudden you feel like you're in the shower and you're like shedding, kind of all this hair. And so it basically like grows and falls out very quickly. And so you don't know when you have hair coming out what the problem is or why it's like coming out. You just know that you have a lot more hair coming out than you do going in. Um, Thyroid hair loss looks like general thinning, a lot of times across your scalp here, and sometimes eyebrows. Sometimes when I see people, and if you notice either as you got older or like if you have some other dysfunctions in your body, if that last third of your eyebrow here is all of a sudden gone, yep, yeah, that can mean like some potentially other things too, but can mean some sort of thyroid thing. So, when I see people with hypothyroid in particular, a lot of times they're like, oh my gosh, I have no eyebrows left. And so it's funny because there's a woman I refer to down in Beloit and Milton for eyebrow tattooing because a lot of these people have lost their eyebrows, like, period. And so then they got no eyebrows left. And so, but it's something that I just kind of look at and they might not notice, they may not like put it in their intake form or not even think about that. They're just like, oh, I don't know, I guess I have no eyebrows anymore, but like that's connected with the hair on your head. A full thyroid panel is a TSH, a free T4, so we call it FT4. And you don't have to know what any of them mean, but you can ask for them. I'm going to give you a couple numbers today, but not a lot. Free T3 and reverse T3, RT3. When I'm looking at stuff, I'm looking at ratios of all this stuff. But again, high level, it would be good to order all of those and just see if any of those are, out of traditional kind of medicine range, or I'm going to give you a couple numbers today of the numbers that I look for. So TSH, I look for between 1 and 2. Your T4, we want to be at least 1, at least 1. Your T3, so I have some personal experiences in this last year. My T3 has been low for this last year. Think sort of menopause all at once and like my thyroid, just all that stuff's kind of connected for me. My T3 was quite low this last year. The T3, and I felt so fatigued. I still am like not out of the woods. T3 is like your gas pedal hormone. Like that's what gives you a little bit of get up and go. And I was like not having that. And so T3, you want to be at least 3.2. So 3.2 to 4.2 is a good range. Mine was hanging around 2.1. So I ended up having to do something about that. There's certain minerals that you need to convert your T4 to your T3. And a lot of us, if you don't eat a lot of selenium or iodine, that's like nuts and seaweed and stuff, like if you don't eat a lot of that, then that might not convert. I tried adding all those minerals and it made a little bit of a difference for me, but not enough where I felt better. So I ended up doing a little bit of a compounded T3 med, tiny little dose, and it helped within a week, actually. I noticed a difference. So thyroid. Free T3 in particular, the one I told you I was low on, is the active form of your thyroid hormone. That's one that matters the most, I would say, and that plays a big role in the health of your hair in particular. What's interesting is the most commonly prescribed supplemental thyroid hormone is T4 only, or like hits your TSH. And so we're missing sometimes the T3 piece. That's the one that's connected with your hair. So if you get a full thyroid panel and you notice that your T3 is more like in the 2s and not at that 3.2, I won't worry about if it's like 3. But if it's in the 2s or lower, I would say that might be connected with some hair stuff. And if you are also fatigued, that probably has something to do with it. L-tyrosine is if you are having thyroid issues, is probably one of the first sort of supplements I would try, before you go to a med. 1 Brazil nut a day will give you enough selenium for the whole day. Isn't that crazy? Literally like 1 Brazil nut. Iodine, I wouldn't just go take an iodine supplement because that can potentially mess you up. Not many of us are iodine deficient, but sometimes that plays a role in sort of this conversion process. So thyroid could be off. Get a full thyroid panel. I give you the numbers for kind of those like top 3 things. With all of this, I'm going to say that you can improve a lot of these things by eating singular ingredient foods or like whole foods diet, meaning pork, chicken, turkey, fish, beef, seafood, eggs, potatoes, all your vegetables, all of your fruits. That should be 80% of your diet, is those whole foods. Not your sugar-free Pop-Tarts, not your bars, not your cereals, not your Premier Protein shakes, none of that, or very little of that. But there's a little space for your Doritos and some of those things in there. But like if most of your diet is those animal proteins and then your fruits and vegetables, that's a good spot to help like reverse some of that stuff. And a lot of people that I work with, if they literally just kind of eat from that food list, you're not missing any vitamins or minerals. In fact, you're getting a ton more than you are from a sugar-free Pop-Tart. You don't really even have to track calories or any of that. People will drop weight and do well because it's really hard to overeat those whole foods. When is the last time you were like, oh my gosh, I just ate way too much chicken breast? Like, we don't do that. It's not like hyper palatable. Doesn't mean like you can't have other things with it. Or carrots. When's the last time you said, oh, God, I accidentally ate 2 pounds of carrots? Maybe some fruit I feel like I could maybe eat a lot of, but like probably not a ridiculous amount. I could probably eat a couple mangoes if you ask me right now, maybe an avocado. But like if that's all you're eating, then you're probably in good shape. So number 1, thyroid. Number 2, vitamin and mineral deficiencies. So I think I have mine with me. I'll show it to you. There's a vitamin and mineral test that we can do. It's just a quick blood draw. It'll tell me your amino acids, CoQ10, vitamins, and minerals. I would not it's a $200 test, so I would not recommend it to anybody who's not already kind of on a good vitamin mineral regimen, who's eating really well, because, and I was just telling with the person I saw right before I came here, she was eating 2 bags of chips and 2 protein shakes a day, and that was like about it, like maybe a salad at night. So like she's like, I don't know, I'm not eating a lot of calories, like I want to drop this weight, I don't know why. I'm like, wow, you're not eating like any nutrition. We would be throwing $200 away if she did that test, because I could tell you right away based on what she's been eating the last few years that she's not getting enough nutrition in. So don't do it if that's how you're eating. But if you feel like you are eating mostly whole foods, you're taking some good vitamins, the basics, whatever, but it's not usually the first place I start. I had done it recently with myself because I was looking at my thyroid, minerals, and sure enough, all my vitamins were good and 80% of my minerals were good. I had a couple things that stuck out, but all of my thyroid conversion minerals, the iodine, the tyrosine, they were all low. And so that's the first thing I did, was just add those minerals back to see if that would help. And like I said, that bumped me. It got me up to like 2.5. I still didn't feel that great, so I ended up doing something else. But so if you are not eating a whole foods, singular foods rich diet full of a chunk of protein, and I don't mean protein from a bar or a cereal, but like protein from an egg or a chicken or even a Greek yogurt, something like that, you're probably going to be low in certain vitamins and minerals that you need for your hair to grow and stay. 2 big ones that I see are, and I know there's a B complex out there too, is like low B vitamins. By the way, when you run a lab for any of these vitamins, you want to be fasted 12 hours and don't take any of your vitamins, vitamin water, no coffee, nothing for 24 hours before that. Otherwise, what happens? Draw a lab, your vitamin B is 1300. Oh, you're fine. Yeah, but you just drank that vitamin water and took vitamin B a little bit before that. So make sure you're off all your stuff so you can get kind of a clean lab. Vitamin B, we like to be between 700 and 1100. Again, fasting, no vitamins, 24 hours, fasting 12 hours, but no vitamins before that. Um, D, you'll hear me talk about vitamin D every time I'm here because it's related to everything. 70, 80, 90s, that's a good sweet spot for D. Most of us in Wisconsin, other than, this weather's decent, we are not on, we are not hitting that. I see a lot of people in the 20s, 30s. That's going to make you fatigued. That'll cause sleep problems, and that's connected with hair growth for sure. Last summer, I was doing some hormone testing, and I tan fairly easily. I have a pool. I'm outside every day, and I thought, you know what? I don't know if I need my D supplement this summer. I'm going to try to go without it and just see what happens. I did some hormone testing, and the guy who I knew very well, I was like almost offended by it, but he was like, Sarah, your vitamin D is kind of low. And I'm like, what? Not me. Sure enough, though, like I don't absorb it well from the sun. I could move to California and probably, I bet you I would still need it, but especially in Wisconsin. Our best source of vitamin D is from the sun, but most of us need some sort of supplementation. That's why making sure a chunk of your protein is from those natural animal proteins, though, because that has a lot of vitamin D and B in it too, iron too, which we'll cover too. So vitamin D, 70 to 100 is a good sweet spot for that. A lot of times you have to ask for a vitamin D lab, and it's usually covered by insurance. It's not an issue, but it's an expensive lab to run. Why, I don't know. But if you haven't had it run, I would check it. I usually try to run mine in like December or January. You can run it in the summer if you want, just make sure you're not on any vitamins. And like I said, those, now I say vitamin waters too, because people are like, oh, I didn't take any of my vitamins, but they had a vitamin water before they went to bed, and that's like full of a whole bunch of vitamins. You just want to get a clean lab. But vitamin D is like, yeah, hugely important. So I personally take 10,000 international units through the winter and then 5,000 during the summer, cut it in half. But if you want a good baseline, I would take it in the dead of winter in Wisconsin in January, because that's probably your low then. And you know what your low is. And so if that comes back at like 65, I would say keep doing what you're doing, because then it's probably a tad higher in the summer, depending on how you absorb it. If you absorb a little bit or even a lot. Did you have a question?
I've heard basically, and I do it myself, is the D3 along with the K2.
Yep, that's one I suggest. Yep.
That's what you said.
Yep, T3, K2. Yep. Taking a little magnesium with that is helpful, but again, if you're already on a multi, or maybe you're taking magnesium, but a K2 will make it absorb better. Yeah. Some people with a couple blood conditions can't do K, so then we would do D3, but very few that I've seen. So a lot of times if you go to the doctor and you have low vitamin D, they will give you a high dose D pack that you take once a week. I don't love that at all. First of all, that's D2, so that's not really the type that you need. It doesn't absorb well, and I really don't like the weekly dose. It doesn't absorb as well as like taking a little bit kind of every day. So I'd rather you take 5 or 10 a day. Then it's usually 50,000 they give you once a week, and it's usually D2. So D3 is definitely the one that's connected with like mood and sleep, and then the hair thing. So number 2, vitamin mineral deficiencies, get on a good quality multivitamin, eat a lot of whole foods, your singular ingredient foods. Number 3 is iron. I was not routinely testing a full iron panel in my practice up until 2 years ago. I just was kind of one-off. Women were talking about heavy cycles, even postmenopausal women were having iron issues, and now I run a full iron lab on everyone. And I would say it's like 50-50. I would say 50% of the people that I see are having iron, either storage issues or don't have enough iron circulating through their body. That causes a whole mess of issues. Sleep issues, fatigue, especially if you're a menstruating female. That's important because you're having some blood loss throughout the month, and so then that's taking a dip in your iron. If you have any GI condition or any kind of gut dysbiosis or something going on in your gut, you may eat a whole cow, but you might not process it super well. And so your iron still might not be great, which is pretty annoying. And so I'll give you a couple numbers with iron. So an iron panel consists of 4 parts. Total iron serum, that's just how much iron is in your blood at that time. I barely look at that number. That could be impacted by whether or not you had let's say you fasted in the morning, whether or not you had a steak last night or you had a salad with no protein or no eggs or like whatever. That's literally like your checking account for your iron. Like kind of what you just ate is like sitting in there, or the money you just made, okay? Number 2, total iron bound capacity, TIBC. that tells me how bound up your iron is in your body. And the higher the number is, the more that your body is looking for iron. So we want that number to be under 350. So when I see people in the upper 300s, usually mild iron deficiency, I saw somebody at 500 last week. That's the worst I've ever seen. That means your body is like looking for iron and can't find it. There's nothing there. Okay. Iron saturation comes in a percentage. We want that to be at least 20%. I like at least 25, but the range is like 20 to 55. So when I see people with an iron saturation of 8, 9, 12, and these people are not feeling good at all, there are certain conditions that can impact how you process iron in your body, so it's of course good to look at like kind of root cause. But if you don't have enough iron, that's going to impact your hair too. You need good quality kind of iron running through your bloodstream to grow those hair follicles. The last one, and probably actually one of the most important pieces of iron, is ferritin. That is your iron storage. That's like your iron savings account. So let's say you didn't eat any steak or eggs or any high-rich iron-containing foods for like 3 days, and you depleted your checking account, your iron serum. And then that means your checking account, just like if you overdraft something at the bank, you have to borrow from your savings account and get some more iron. What if there's none there? Then you're gonna be really tired. We want your ferritin to be like 100. It would be, 100 or more would be ideal, but at least upwards towards 100. I'm seeing people sometimes with ferritin around 7, 9, 11. Super concerning. That means if you have a day where you don't eat enough, and maybe they're having heavy bleeding or like internal bleeding. Again, there's like root causes of all this stuff, but something's wrong if you have kind of really low ferritin. That'll make you fatigued too. So number 3 is iron. Iron deficiency in particular is one of the most common causes of thyroid hair loss in perimenopausal women. So the thyroid and the iron piece are very connected too. So ferritin is a protein that stores your iron. Just think of that as like your savings account, like what you borrow when you maybe don't get enough iron kind of in your body. I see low iron numbers with people who are vegetarian or vegan because they're mostly eating plant-based stuff, so they're not getting the animal protein, which is where most of the iron is. I would argue that you could take a iron supplement and eat vegan or vegetarian and still probably not get enough or just not really process it well. So that's number 3. Number 4, honestly, how old you are. And so the older you are, this is a collagen piece. Collagen is packed with amino acids, including like glutamine in particular. We have both of these up here. Your body stops making as much collagen. And so over the age of 40, I think I started collagen in my 30s. Really great for hair, skin, nails. Also good for gut, but like collagen in particular for hair is really good. So here's like, this is a good standard like collagen. This one, 18 grams of protein. So I would say if you were having issues, hair, skin, nail issues, a scoop is good. If you're like good and you're just kind of in maintenance mode, I think a half a scoop of this is fine. That's about what I do. And then glutamine's another one that we talked about. Sometimes that's in some of the, I think Ancient Nutrition has a collagen protein. I think there's glutamine in it. So there's some products that are out there that have both, but glutamine's good. If you had to pick one, I would just say start with the collagen if you're not sure. I don't remember how many years ago it was. Maybe 15 years ago I started on collagen, maybe even a little more than that. But I remember doing it consistently, a scoop every day for 3 months. And I thought, I don't know if this is doing anything. Like give it a few months though. Like I don't know if this is working. And then I went to get my hair cut. I just go every couple months. And my hair guy was like, what in the world are you doing? Like, what are you taking? This is, like your hair is like, so, well, I hadn't noticed. He noticed because he saw like the top of my hair and he could see all that. And I remember, and I was like, well, I don't know, vitamins, collagen. He goes, collagen, that's it. And so a lot of hairdressers will tell you that collagen is a good idea too. Then I remember reflecting back on people getting comments on my skin. And then I remember being annoyed because my nails were so long. I was having to trim them like all the time. And I was so irritated by the fact that they were long, but they were growing. And so it was good. And so it's not something, a lot of things aren't like this either. You don't like take it and the next day. It's not like you don't do one sit up and then you have abs, right? You don't eat 1 carrot and then you drop 20 pounds. That's not the way that goes. But like those consistent, like small little habits. And so that's a part of my day all the time. You guys have Vital Proteins too, I think. That's another good brand. Vital Proteins has just a plain one. Vital Proteins makes a lemon one that's really good. That's what I put in with my electrolytes. I have it in here right now. They also had some summer flavor that was out. I have a little bit left. It's Bomb Pop. And they're not ultra sweet, but it tastes like those like red, white, and blue, like popsicles. So that was their new like summer flavor. And it was good. And they're not super sweet. They just have a little bit of flavor. You could put it in warm water too, like the lemon collagen and like water with a little bit of ginger and honey. Like, you know, you could put it in a tea.
I like the plain in my coffee.
Yes, a lot of people
the
put
first
plain in
thing
their
I put in my
coffee, hot chocolate. Yeah.
Dissolves completely, can't taste it, no
Mhm.
texture whatsoever. Then it adds other stuff.
Yep. It literally, one of my favorite things to do is to watch collagen melt in coffee because it just like melts. You barely even have to stir it. I mean, it's just like gone. So it's not gritty or it's not like a fiber supplement or anything like that. Especially if you're putting maybe a splash of fun creamer in it, you'll never taste it. It just doesn't taste like anything. So it's pretty odorless, tasteless. Collagen gives your hair the strength. So maybe it's growing and the life cycle is it's staying in your head for a while, but maybe it's breaking off. So that's like the strength of it. So it's not, you're not getting split ends or it's not kind of breaking. It gives your skin elasticity and supports healthy like bones and joints. Collagen's in my top 5 like supplements of suggestions for like all of us. So if that's not something that you have been doing, that's an easy thing to do. Like Amber said, toss in your coffee. I put in my electrolytes. You can mix it with, if you're doing it, you know, you can mix it in yogurt, applesauce. It really doesn't taste like anything. So it's hard. Even if you get like a chunk of it, it doesn't taste like anything, you know, so it's not that big of a deal. And it's not gritty or like you're not gagging on it. It's not sandy. Collagen is protein packed with a ton of amino acids. It's not a complete protein. So if you are trying to get, let's say, 100 grams of protein a day, I like to do the collagen sort of above and beyond that, or, you know, count 10 grams of that towards that. But so it's not the same as like eating a steak or chicken like that. Your body produces collagen on its own, but definitely after the age of 40, it starts to take a dive. And so that's a good time to start it. If you are chronically ill, your collagen production will go down too. So it's always a good time, you know, that's a good thing to take. So that's number 4. Number 5 that I see very often is low stomach acid. So I swear we did a talk on GERD and low stomach acid maybe sometime last year. That's where I got some funny looks. So probably get a couple tonight when we talk about this. If you have reflux, gas, bloating, GERD, that's low stomach acid. What do we give to people when they have reflux or GERD? What's the med that we give people? What are people on?
Acid blockers.
Acid blockers. It makes your stomach acid even lower. That's like the opposite of what I do with people. You have displaced stomach acid. If you have acid here, or that reflux or GERD, first of all, you probably need to change your diet, and that might take care of it alone. Second, that's basically displaced stomach acid, meaning your acid is here instead of here. 85% of the people that have the GERD and reflux are also like, oh, I'm kind of bloated, or I have IBS, or I have constipation, or I'm not digesting. So, well, why? Because I have stomach acid left because they're on an acid blocker. And so there's like 3 meds that people come into me with that I usually can get them off within 6 months, and that is one of them. Because if you change your diet, I usually add, I don't know if we have this up here, a good digestive enzyme is a good way to increase your stomach acid. And then again, that naturally goes down with age. Try to eat some lemon, you do lemon in your water, some dandelion greens, some, you know, like bitter foods like salads, and not your iceberg or your romaine, but, you know, some of them, like arugula is a good one. Like, you know, olive oil and lemon juice and salt, like that'd be a good thing to eat. And do that first before you digest like your chicken, you know, in your meal. Like that's why you serve salad first when you eat a meal. The 3 meds I usually am helping people get off within 6 months is blood pressure meds, statins, and acid blockers. Most of us don't need to be on any of those things if we change our lifestyle and our diet. So if you have chronic illness or thyroid dysfunction or autoimmune condition, you're gonna have a hard time digesting your food. Your stomach acid will be low. And so stomach acid is what breaks down your food as you eat. Guess what? If you are not breaking down your food, you're not breaking down any of the nutrition in it either. So then all of a sudden now you have these vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And maybe you're eating all the right things, but if your stomach acid isn't good, then you're not really absorbing anything. We always say like you are what you eat, but you are what you absorb, really. So I know Now brand has a good ultra like digestive enzyme, and that's out in the supplements there. So that's a good one. You take it about 5 to 10 minutes before you eat. That helps turn your stomach acid on, and it wakes your stomach and it says, hello, It's time to eat now. One of the other things that you can do to increase your stomach acid is not eat all day. If you are snacking and grazing all day, you are doing your stomach a disservice as well. Your stomach is always digesting. It literally does not have enough stomach acid to keep digesting food over and over and over again. Go back to your 3 meals a day, have 3 or 4 hours in between, and be done. I'm not saying you never snack or whatever, but if you're eating like every couple hours, I swear like years ago, that's what everybody, you're supposed to eat 200 calories every couple hours, but that really is like killing your stomach acid. That's a lot of work for your stomach to do all day. You can also do sort of a light like 16-8 or 14-10 fast, meaning maybe you eat from 11 to 7 p.m. and then after dinner, maybe just your tea, your lemon water, your water, and then maybe into the, mid-morning you're not eating either. You don't have to do that, but that's a good reset for stomach acid too. You got to give your gut a break, your body a break from just kind of eating all the time. It also probably help you cut a few calories if you're snacking all day, because I think that stuff adds up more than we think. So yeah, reflux, gas, bloating, especially if you eat a meal that's higher in protein and you're like, ooh, beef doesn't agree with me. Anybody says somebody says beef doesn't agree with them, I usually know they have low stomach acid. Because they're like, oh, I can eat ABC, these other things, fine. But I try to eat beef or like a, more protein meal, which is what I want to eating. And they're like, I feel so, like it just sits like a rock in my stomach for hours after. That probably means you have low stomach acid. So that's number 5. Number 6 is hormones. Couldn't come today and not talk about hormones. So perimenopausal and menopausal women in particular with hair loss, I'm seeing a lot of that. And so perimenopause, that transition where your hormones start to drop before you are in menopause, which is a year after your last cycle, that can happen as early as 36, 37, like late 30s. Average sort of time span of perimenopause is between 41 and 51. So it's a 10-year process of your hormones going like this, and then like at some point sort of flatlining. In perimenopause, a lot of times in your early 40s, your progesterone drops, and then your estrogen stays where it is, and you are estrogen dominant. That causes sometimes some extra weight gain, and that can cause some hair issues potentially. If it's like wildly kind of out of whack. People with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, where your DHEA and your testosterone is high, that will cause like hair loss and thinning hair. You'll hear that as probably in the top 3 complaints of people with PCOS is hair issues. They have hair where they don't want it, and the hair where they do want it, they don't have that. It's kind of like opposite. If you are still menstruating, you can get a blood panel during your luteal phase and look at those. Kind of depends on maybe who's interpreting that. You can do saliva hormone testing. But in particular, like imbalanced hormones, especially during that 41 to 51 is where we see some hair changes. Mine didn't fall out, but I noticed maybe in my late 40s, a handful of years ago, I noticed it got did this. Like it got really like wiry, and I actually had to switch like conditioners. I couldn't even run my finger through my hair. And it was just like underneath my like ponytail here. It had this different like weird, thicker, coily, wiry like texture. And so my same hair guy who I've had for 25 years, who was talking about the collagen and like my scalp hair being good because hair's always been decent for me, he was like, oh, he said, how old are you again or whatever? Like he said, oh, it's totally like it's perimenopause, menopause changes, like your hair changes. So yeah, some people's hair changes color even during that time. I've seen some people with gray hair and they have like all of a sudden it gets like blondish, like copper, and so that can be a weird change too. So hormones are number 6. Number 7, balance your blood sugar. So insulin resistance is the 7th reason. In my opinion, insulin resistance is numero uno for lots of things. If you have poor insulin resistance, you probably have weight issues, you probably have high blood pressure, you probably have you might have gut issues kind of going on with that. If you're eating lots of carbohydrates, and I'm not here to bash carbohydrates, so like don't get that, but if you're eating way more carbohydrates than you're eating protein or fats, and you're having a hard time losing weight, you're feeling sluggish, you're not sleeping well, you probably have some insulin resistance. How do you know that? I'll give you 3 blood tests if you want to check that out. The best way to know if you are insulin resistant is to do a fasting insulin test. We don't do that very often, but it's an easy test. You want that number to be in the single digits. It ranges between 2 and 25. I don't think I've ever seen anybody above 15. So 2 to 6 is sort of ideal. 7 to 9 is a little iffy. 10 or more is not good. Most of us are familiar with like an A1C. We use that for prediabetes. You want that 5.6 or less. That's another measure. So that's my second probably choice. You can get all of these if you want. Fasting glucose is my third choice. That is okay. That can vary like quite a bit. Like each of our bodies process glucose different. For example, my insulin resistance is the lowest it could be. It's 2. Like that's the lowest number you can get on that. But my fasting glucose is actually like 97, like on the upper end of range. So you'd look at that and be like, oh, she must have some blood sugar issues. I don't. But so fasting glucose they do as part of a metabolic panel, so it's included. You might have to ask for the A1C, and you probably will have to ask for the fasting insulin. But in that order, that would be the ones I would suggest there. Because I've seen people with normal fasting glucose and then their A1C or insulin is off. So you just want to you want to get all the data before you make a good decision. Most of your diet should be full of protein and produce. Someday I'm going to get t-shirts that say that. Carbs aren't bad. You're getting carbs from your sweet potatoes, your white potatoes, your fruit, your plantains, your vegetables. It's the Pop-Tarts and some of those more kind of processed stuff. But if you're eating more carbs than you are protein, if you count the number of grams of carbs and protein that you get in a day, your protein for most people should be more or equal to the amount of carbs that you're getting for most people, not all. But if you didn't know where to start and were like, well, I'm maybe just going to track my carbs for 30 days, not net carbs, total carbs, I would say try 100 grams of carbohydrates in a day and see how that feels to you. That's not super crazy low. That's lower than most of us are eating. I could take any one of you today in the audience and ask what you ate today, and I could calculate the carbs and tell you, how many you ate. I can do that for anybody if you want. But try like 100 carbs in a day. That's enough to have like 3 servings of carbohydrates. That's like 1 apple, a half a cup of rice, and a small sweet potato. A couple green veggies, some protein, eggs. You're good. So it's not no carb, it's not keto, it's not high fat. It's just we all that's the yummy stuff. I mean, that's the French fries, that's the pita bread, and it doesn't mean you never have that stuff. But if you're having hair issues, if you have weight loss issues, get your insulin, your fasting insulin tested, and just keep an eye on kind of your total carbs. If you cut your carbs though and you don't eat a lot of protein, you're gonna be hungry. So you got to replace those. Because I know I talk about calories right now. Then you have to replace those calories with maybe some protein or fat. So, can anyone give me an example of a food they ate today that was high protein?
Chicken.
Chicken?
Eggs.
Eggs? How many eggs did you have?
I make an egg strata.
Mm-hmm.
I make it and then I cut it into pieces. So there's I would say 1.5 eggs in a slice. I use 6 eggs.
Okay.
And cut it into 4 pieces.
So then you have 1.5 eggs. And then do you have anything with that?
Basically some cheese.
Okay. So that's a very good breakfast choice. I would say for most of us, trying to get at least 30 grams of protein in a meal would be good though. And so that is about, with the cheese.
I usually put little ham chunks in it.
Okay, so that might be better too.
Yeah.
The eggs alone are probably only 9.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 12 with the cheese, maybe, you might be pushing 20. So it could be adding more eggs, or it could be doing like a turkey sausage on the side. I love eggs. I think they're, some people are sensitive to them. I'm sensitive to the whites. I love them for protein. I love them for like amino acid profile in a whole food. But if I'm saying, I try to get 40 grams of protein in a meal, but if I'm saying 30 something, like it's like 5 or 6 eggs, like most of us don't eat that. So don't not eat eggs because I said that, but just remember you have to eat a lot of eggs to get there. Whereas an ounce of chicken has 6 grams. An ounce of chicken is like a couple little bites, so you don't really need much. So, 6 ounces of chicken, steak, turkey, pork is a good spot to be. That's like if you go out to eat and you get a steak and they give you like a little fillet. Like those are like 6 or 8 ounces. Like that's kind of the size we're talking about. If you ate that 2-3 times a day, something like that, that would be good. But you could do eggs or a Greek yogurt or something, something else too. But again, try to get like the singular ingredient foods, like kind of whole foods, kind of close to nature. Starting your day with a high protein breakfast is important. I want to hear what somebody else had for breakfast this morning. No judgment, Captain Crunch, whatever. Do you? Oh, you okay? Okay, what did you have?
I had a protein shake with
Okay.
like a scoop of collagen.
Okay, and what is it? A protein powder or like a? What do you use?
Slave City.
Oh yeah, Bobby Flay's.
Yeah.
Like yeah, so that's a good one. I think that is a whey isolate. I don't use whey a lot for because I work with people with GI stuff, so I don't usually use any dairy in there. But he's got a good quality product there, so that's probably 30 or 40 then, right? With those two put together, 30 something.
Yeah, I don't know. You probably know it's Vital Proteins collagen.
Yep.
But
So as like
the protein has.
and they took that Vital Proteins took the scoop out of their collagen. You guys know that? I had to change all my meal plans. It says a scoop. So their scoop used to be 4 tablespoons. So now I usually say serving like 2 tablespoons. But like I was like digging for it one of the times, but they were doing it to save plastic. But I just didn't know that. And all of a sudden I have a whole bunch of clients asking me like, there's no, what do you mean a scoop? There's no scoop in here. I'm like, what? There's scoop in mine, but like slowly they were getting rid of the scoop. So yeah, that's decent. I would say the only thing that maybe that breakfast is lacking is maybe some fiber.
Yeah.
Just keep you full because that's like liquid, so it'll go right through you. But like a lot of people do that, I know. Anybody else? What'd you have for breakfast?
I have the cheese it was different.
I'll have what she's having.
I have a cheese. So
Her answer was good. I had that.
Vanilla, protein powder, and then collagen, and then so I make it like a smoothie.
Yep.
So I had spinach and raspberries.
Oh yeah, that sounds good. Some people mix a protein powder in with their coffee. There's a lot of junky protein powders out there, you guys too. So like I'm not anti-protein powder because I use it too. But like try to get just a limited ingredient one. Ancient Nutrition is probably one of my favorites. What's the other one that's out here? Vital has one out here too, I think. Forget the other one you guys have in the aisle.
The Dr. Axe one.
Dr. Axe, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that one's decent too. And some people tolerate whey just fine. There's some plant protein options here too, but like, yeah, that's fine. Sort of as I'd say part of your whole foods diet, don't drink 3 protein shakes a day because you're not getting any fiber and it's still not really like real food, but it's a decent option. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other breakfast samples?
How much protein is in bacon? I always forget.
A lot. I wish more, but it's not bad. So we get a pig every year, and then there's some. I get the thick, like a little bit thicker cut, and then I trim sort of the excess fat because there's like plenty on there. And then it's about 3 grams of protein and 3 grams of fat. It's actually not as fatty as you think for bacon, like after it's cooked. So like one of my favorite breakfasts I've been doing, I asked you guys to get these in, you did, thank you. Pasha has a 1 ingredient English muffin here. It's buckwheat, so it's not a grain, it's a seed. They're good. 1 ingredient. I don't know how somebody made a product with 1 ingredient. So this morning I had that with like a pumpkin seed butter, do whatever nut butter you want, a little bit of honey, cinnamon, some edamame, soy nuts basically, just the plain ones, not the ranch or the buffalo. I had 2 pieces of bacon with it then, and like some blueberries, and then my collagen coffee, and so that was like 40 something grams, like fairly easily. Those have 6 grams of fiber and 6 grams of protein, like in 1 English muffin. So,
What is that again?
Pacha is the brand, Pacha, Pacha. There's bread too. You have the bread too, like the sandwich bread. I've had that too. They have a cinnamon raisin bread. It's 1 ingredient. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
I can show
in the
anything
freezer.
that she's talking about.
Amber will do a
Take you
tour
through it.
after. Yeah. I can see the aisle in my head, but like, yeah, it's at the top in the freezer section. I missed it the first time, and then you sent me a picture. It's like buckwheat and salt, so I don't know. I mean, you're not going to eat it plain. It doesn't have a lot of flavor on its own, but that's like eating, I don't know, a tortilla or a pasta or like whatever. It's kind of what you put on it. I miss peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So that's kind of what I was doing with. I have to give up peanut butter for a while, so I just did another like hemp butter. You could do like a homemade strawberry jam. Not a lot, just a teaspoon or 2. I like cinnamon and everything. You could also do an egg and a piece of bacon on each of those English muffins. So I have to do a yolk because the whites don't sit well with me. But let's say you did these English muffins with a little mustard or a little, something, maybe a little avocado spread. 2 eggs and a piece of bacon on each one. That would be good. For a grain type product, it has a lot of fiber and a lot of protein. That's quite a bit. A normal English muffin will probably have 1 gram. And again, that adds up, and the fiber is good. So if you're trying to get 25 grams of fiber in a day, that's 6 right there. Plus I added the soy nuts, which was 6 or 8 grams of fiber. I mean, so I started my day with 10 or 15 grams of fiber right there, because the eggs and the bacon won't have that. But so if I do the math, that's 6, 12, 18, 21. Yeah, that's 24 grams of protein. So that's not too bad. If you had the English muffins with the egg and a piece of bacon on them, and then maybe you did some blueberries for a little fiber and a collagen coffee, yeah, you'd be at 30 some, 40 something, like pretty easily. So just another idea that's not a protein shake or not a rotisserie chicken for breakfast. So
when you talk about collagen, is it better to take it in the morning, or could you take it at night? Because usually I take mine at night.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. A lot of people just as a habit have been throwing it in their coffee, or they throw it in there just to get it done. But no, it doesn't matter. Okay, the last one, number 8, this is a tough one, is adrenal fatigue, cortisol issues. If you have really high cortisol, high stress, you might carry your weight kind of here. You are operating in sort of a high stress environment. Or like me, if you've used all your cortisol up in your 30s and 40s, and now mine has flatlined, which I'm like, oh, I'm not stressed anymore. I just have nothing else to give. Mine just like flatlined. No, that's not good either. So I have to take like adrenal stimulants now for all the things I did, whatever, 20 years ago. Your adrenals, that's connected with your thyroid and your hormones too. So they produce cortisol, which is a stress hormone, which we need if like a big lion came in here and we had to run away. You need to be able to have that stress response and that active, cortisol to be able to like run away. It's when we have mild to moderate stress all the time. It can be like having little kids. It can be, working a stressful job. It could be infertility. It could be divorce. It could be when you have those kind of moderate things like every day, that's the stuff that does a number kind of on your adrenals, and that affects everything. And then you're so tired, it doesn't matter, and then you're not gonna make good food choices because you're so tired. So that's connected too. And so your adrenals regulate your blood pressure, your electrolyte balance, your blood sugar, your immune response, your digestion, like all of it. So that is like one of my sort of health issues that I'm working through. I have POTS too, but like when I put those two together, my blood pressure is really low. A lot of my stuff's just kind of low and slow. And so that chronic stress puts you in overdrive, and you're just flooded, and eventually it just kind of crashes and you're kind of done, and then you don't have energy to do any of the things that we're talking about today. But that will negatively impact your thyroid, which is the first thing we talked about, and then that's connected with the hair loss again. So usually it's connected with hypothyroid, which is usually what's connected with hair loss. What was your question?
Can you have adrenal issues regardless of age?
Absolutely. Yeah. You're more likely to have it older because you've had life events sort of like build up. But you could be 22 and have adrenal issues, absolutely. Yeah, if you have a lot of stress going on. If you're not sleeping well, number one, your cortisol will probably be whacked. If you are working a 3rd shift job or kind of a funky schedule, that can mess with your, because again, we need that stress hormone when we need it, but it shouldn't be on all the time. And if you think of it almost like you have a pot full of like cortisol, and that like once it's gone, it's gone. Like you want to be able to use it when you need it. But if it's like, if you're using it all the time, then there's nothing left. Oh yeah, here's like an adrenal complex. Like the one that I take has like rhodiola in it. Yeah, that's what this is. So I take one when I go to bed. I don't have high cortisol before I go to bed, so sleeping is okay. But I take one anyways just to kind of calm my body down. And then I have one in the morning that's similar to this. And I notice when I don't take it. So the other thing, I mentioned B vitamins, but I want to talk about a specific B vitamin because there's B1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A lot of us think about B12, but biotin is the one that's connected with the hair piece. That is also the one that you shouldn't take 72 hours before a lab because it'll impact your thyroid numbers. So I say fast 12 hours and don't do vitamins for 24 hours prior, but any B complex you are on or anything with large amounts of biotin, B7 I believe that is, not the amount in a multivitamin, but like a heavy duty B complex, that you really actually should pull for a couple days, 2-3 days. Biotin will impact your thyroid numbers and then it'll skew it and then you're trying to make decisions based off a number that's maybe not quite right. So that's the 8. Those would be my top 8. Probably other like little things, but like those would be my top 8 connected with like hair issues in particular. But of course they cascade and are connected with lots of other things, which I hit on today. So other questions that people have.